Hey everyone, welcome back to Fridge North Auto. Today we've got a 2014 GMC Acadia all-wheel drive. It's got the ABS light on, traction control light on, a couple other various things that are probably associated with the same problem. She asked me the other day if I could just do a real quick scan on it just to see what the code was, and so I did just as a favor, and it came back as, I can't remember which one, but it came back as a wheel speed sensor code. So they elected just to buy the sensor and just to have me throw it on. I don't normally do that. Well, I wouldn't do that as a practice for just charging a customer to do that. I would not just arbitrarily throw a sensor on just to take care of it. I don't diagnose by code. But we're also going to do a couple checks just to make sure that it actually is the problem with the sensor and not something else. If it's something that we find and it's not the sensor, we'll let them know and see if they want to put it on anyway. But if it's a different problem, we need to actually address that problem, and we'll help them out with that. So let's, first thing we're going to do is scan it so we can be sure which one that we're looking at, because like I said, I can't remember which one. So we'll go through the motions of doing that with you. Okay.
All right, so we're going to hook up our scanner to the car. Get my fingers out of the way of the screen. Turn the wiper blades off. Oh, and she's also got a wiper blade that's missing from her arm, so she drove it. It was delivered here to the shop like that. So we're going to take care of that as well. All right, so first thing we're going to do is make sure our fan is off so we don't drain down the battery. And why is that still on? Okay, turn it off. There you go. All right, let's get into the scan. And this is a GMC. We'll do the automatic ID and wait for it to come up. So some things that can be an issue here with set this code is it could be the speed sensor, it could be the tone ring on the hub, it could be a connector issue, it could be a pin fit issue, corrosion, it could be a wiring issue upstream, it could be an issue with the module, etc., etc. So let's just go into, let's do a full scan. So there could be several problems with this. So diagnosing by code is not a good idea, just based on the fact that you throw the part on there and it may not fix that problem. And now you're out however much it costs, so 50, 60 bucks, maybe cheaper, I don't know. All right, so left rear wheel speed sensor. Okay, left rear. All right, they got an airbag issue as well. We're not going to address that. That's not what's on the list. Door switch issue, HVAC, rear temp control feedback, radio, low circuit voltage, rear differential clutch module, system disabled information. That could be because it's associated with the ABS and traction control. Okay, it's being saved. And nothing else. So we're going to close this sure track. All right, so the codes that come up are the airbag, door switch, and the wheel speed sensor. The wheel speed sensor is the one we're going to tackle because that's the one that she's concerned about, and it's probably going to take care of this other one with the clutch. I don't see that one that came up. There it is, down here. Okay, so all right, let's look into this. We'll get it up on the lift and see what we see. All right, so what we're going to do, since we have to do some testing while this is up in the air, we're going to throw our battery charger on. Let's see, there's the wiper blade that's goofed up. So we have that coming. So we're going to get this hood up in the air.
Yeah, it'll come up. All right, so we're going to hook our battery pack up. This will ensure our battery stays charged while we run test down below. It's a handy little thing to have. Definitely enjoy having this. Whew. Sounds like it's nuclear. Fires right up. We'll assume it's a standard battery. 12 volt, standard. And we'll just do a 2 amp charge and that'll keep it charged up good enough. We don't need to blow the battery up. All right, now let's get it up in the air. All right, so one of the things that we can do once we get the vehicle up in the air, and you don't need to have a lift for this, you can just jack it up on one corner and be fine with doing this test. So one thing you can do is if you have a scan tool that reads data, is you can leave the key on, go to your data list, and pick the wheel that you want to watch and spin it by hand and see if it comes up on the graph. So that's what we're gonna do here. I'm gonna hold the screen like this because that way it's a little less blurry for you guys. So we're gonna go to anti-lock brakes, data display, anti-lock braking data, and then we're gonna pick our PID, which is a parameter for that wheel. So left rear wheel speed sensor. We're gonna go to graph mode, and we're gonna watch this. So we're gonna go to full screen graph because we wanna see it in the full screen. And I'm gonna have my lovely assistant here help us out with spinning the tire by hand. Say hi, Aaliyah. Hi. We're a family-owned business, and so the kids once in a while come out here and help me, so that's a great thing. She's also sporting the Frontier Designs sweatshirt. This is an official plug for them, by the way. They're a great company. They make Christmas ornaments, and they do a great job of it. They're based here in Alaska, and they'll ship them to you wherever you're at. So just remember to look them up, Frontier Designs. All right. All right, Aaliyah, so now we're gonna watch our screen here as she spins the tire, and we're gonna see if it reads. Spin it as fast as you can, keep it going. Keep it going. Go, 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 go. Might help to stand on the side of the tire. There you go, do a Wheel of Fortune type thing. There you go, now you're talking. And we have 0 data coming up. We should be seeing something here. So to prove that, let's go to the front and see what we see. All right, Aaliyah, if you wouldn't mind moving to the left front. And let's pick the left front. And we'll do the same thing. All right, ready, set, go. We're not seeing anything, unless you're not going fast enough. We should be seeing something here. Well, this is gonna shoot my video down in the toilet. All right, hang on. Why is that not working? My key's on. Why is my key on? Key is on. Maybe it's not all the way on. Lower it down. All right, take 5, guys. Okay, so here we go again. All right, let's go back to this wheel here. All right, we're gonna have Aaliyah spin the tire for us, and go ahead. And we have nothing showing up on the graph. So we're locked right at 0. Okay, Aaliyah, that's enough. All right, let's go to the other one. And just to prove that it's working, we're gonna go to the left front. All right, go ahead. And see how we got movement. All right, so we should be seeing that. So yeah, we know that our sensor on the front is working. We know our scan tool is working. So now we're going to, thank you, Aaliyah, that's good. So now we're gonna get it up in the air all the way, and we're gonna take a look at the sensor, the wheel, hub, give it a good shakedown, and see what we see. All right, so that was an easy thing to do while we have the scan tool on, because there's nothing intrusive about it. If you're able to read data on your scan tool, it's good. If you're able to graph that data, that's even better because you can actually see little blips that maybe might drop out. We didn't see anything dropping out at all because it wasn't working at all. We got 0 signal out of that. So if you had an intermittent problem where it was occasionally dropping out, You can use your scan tool graph and look at it, but that might not be all that great with an aftermarket scan tool, just because the computer's got to process that information. So even on a factory scan tool, you might not catch it every little bit. You might have to actually get a lab scope out and see real minute dropouts. But typically your scan tools will work, and you'll see those dropouts intermittently happen, and then you know where your problem is, and that helps you out. So with this, with that being super easy, we bypass one of the first things that we would do, which is get it up in the air and do a visual inspection and see what we see. See if there's anything obvious, like a broken sensor wire, busted connector. Pull the connector apart and see if you have anything corroded in there, and etc. And one of the other things to do is to shake the wheel down and see if you have a bunch of play in that hub, because that can cause a problem too. That would probably lean more to being an intermittent problem, because the wheel would be fluctuating back and forth. You would catch a signal, lose it, catch it, lose it, catch it, lose it. So we may have seen that on the scan tool, but maybe not, because it's so stationary and we're just lightly turning it versus running down the road. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So just a real quick shake, and I'm not feeling anything out of the ordinary. I'm going to spin it and see if I hear anything weird with a bearing. And I don't hear anything out of the ordinary either. So we're going to go ahead and get it up in the air and continue on with our visual inspection. Okay, we're a little drippy today because it's been snowing like crazy today. So the car's in here thawing out, and maybe I can get you guys under here and not get wet. Looks like I have a pretty decent spot where to put you guys.
All right, so here's a visual of where our sensor is at. I'm gonna get this light hooked up, situated to where it won't fall. So our sensor goes into the hub right here. So it goes into the hub, bolts in, it follows along, and then it just follows this little trail right up to the connector right here. And so I don't see anything obvious as far as anything broken. And so we're going to pull that connector apart and see if it's corroded or we have any bent pins or corroded pins. All right, so I'm going to try to get under here with you guys being able to see. All right, so we're just going to pop this loose very gently. These Christmas trees, that's a long one for that little tiny deal. And then pop this out of the grommet real quick, get it down to a level. So what I do is I just give these a little tap. You don't need to hammer them on with a full 4-pound sledge. Just give them a little tap. That'll help break up the dirt that has worked its way up in there. And that'll help you disconnect the connector a little bit easier. So we'll pop. All right, so we're looking for corrosion, and I don't see anything there. Nothing corroded, no green boogers anywhere, and everything looks good there. So what we're gonna do real quick is do a real quick ohm test. Oh, I hope I brought my meter. Well, if not, I have the scan tool, I can use that. I gotta get used to not pulling a multimeter out every time. I can just use the scan tool. So anyway, everything looks good there. The only thing I'm not doing right at the moment is doing a pin fit test and to see how that looks. And so that's one thing we'll also do. But let's ohm that sensor real quick and compare it to the new one, or even compare it to the other side and see what that looks like. We can compare the two. We're gonna ohm out the right side and compare it with the left side, because that's our problem one. All right, so we've got our scan tool here, and we're gonna swap it over to an ohm meter. All right, and the way we do that is we go here, we go to scope multimeter, and it's going to turn it into, we can choose what we want it to do. We want it to be a digital multimeter, and we're going to do ohms. So
these are not the pins we're going to use. We're going to use these to do a pin fit test on the connector. So I just had them on here so we can calibrate the tool itself, because we need to use the female ones versus the males. So let's go ahead and get this back up in here. And the pin fit test is for the vehicle side of the harness. And we just want to, we don't need both of them. We're just going to slide this up in here and ensuring we're using the right pin, because we don't want to use the pin that's too big, because then you jam it in there and it'll actually widen out that pin, and then you will have a pin fit problem later on. So you want to be sure you're using the correct pin. Same thing with a test light. If you're doing a test light for checking voltages on anything, connector wise, just touch it. Just barely touch it in there. Don't jam it, because then you for sure will widen out that female pin. So you want to get it here and then just check your pin fit and make sure you have a good drag on it. And that one feels pretty good. It feels good. So what we do now is we take our female pins, and then that's what we're going to actually hook into the connector with. So we go ahead and put those on our leads for our scope, and then we'll hook these in to the sensor side of the connector. Okay, and that shows that we're out of limits. So let's change the scale. Let's see what we see here. So 61 ohms. Interesting. So that's supposed to be spinning the tire. Now let's compare it to the other side. That's what we want to see. So I'm going to hook it up on the other side here. And we are in place. And let's see, okay, we're out of limits again. So let's change our scale. Let's switch it to auto and see what it comes up with. 42 mega ohms. Okay, let's put it back here on the suspect side. 0 mega ohms, but 62 ohms. So why is that? That's interesting, because the good side has a lot of resistance, and the other side does not have a lot of resistance. So what that could mean is that we have a sensor that is internally shorted, and so it's not reading like it should on the wheel speed because it's making a contact somewhere else inside. Although not a perfect contact, because otherwise the ohms reading would be a lot lower, but it's not as much as it should be is what I'm getting at. So let's put that new sensor in and see what we get. We'll go ahead and grab that out of the box, and we'll just do it right here on the bench and see what it looks like. All right, so here's what they gave me. Part number is a SU12030, and this should be for the left rear. And let's open it up and see. Oh, there's receipts for it as well. No prices. Oh, was this a present? Gave me a gift receipt. Sure, it's not a present for me. It's not my car. Let's go ahead and check this resistance on this one. .53 mega ohms. So we might be onto something. This might be a lucky shot. It might just be a bad sensor. So let's go ahead and throw this in, because that's the customer's request anyway. We're just doing a freebie here with the diagnosis, and we'll go for it. If this was me diagnosing it, with that range of a difference in the sensors, I would feel confident with putting another sensor in it. If the sensors matched, let's see if they match. And it looks like they do.
So it very well could be the same sensor on both sides. One thing that you could do if you don't have the test equipment is to swap the sensors from side to side and see if it makes a difference. And the way what you would do there is you would replace this, you would swap the sensors over, and if you just simply had a code reader, that's all you had. You didn't have a way of reading data, you just had a code reader. You would swap the sensors over, clear the code, and it's a hard fault. We know that this light was on the entire time. We have no reading, so we know it's a hard fault. And if you try to clear the code and it's there, it may trip that code right away. You might have to move the car, down the driveway or something like that to spin that tire fast enough. Sometimes you have to hit like 6 miles an hour before it'll read. But in any case, there's a way to do that. You can just swap the sensors, clear the code, take it around the block and see what happens. And when the light comes back on, see if it now is reading on the other wheel. If it is, boom, you know your sensor's bad. And so that's a real down and dirty way to do it if you don't have the tooling to do the proper diagnosis with. And that's understandable because this stuff's not cheap, it's expensive. But you can get a cheap ohm meter and that can help you out in a lot of ways too. But if you're working on your own vehicles, a decent scan tool is something that you should look into, just because you can get a lot of versatility on it and it helps you to not be led in the wrong direction by guessing. And so in this case, it may be a lucky guess. So let's see what happens. We'll get that sensor replaced and we'll go from there. So we'll walk you through that. All right, so removing this sensor, we've already unplugged it and we already pulled this out of the grommet here, out of the little slot here. So we just continue on, just working our way out. We have these little frame clips. And if you break them, the new one comes with them. And so don't worry about that too much, but still be careful just in case the new one doesn't come with them. Sometimes they don't, and you have to transfer them over. And then you just follow your way all the way down. And we got another one in here, which I don't think you guys are gonna be able to see that. And that's a Christmas tree style. All right, now the booger of this is GM went ahead and put the bolt underneath the the link here, the knuckle. So it's right up in there. It's a little bit of a doozy to see. So instead of using a socket, we have to use a wrench. And hopefully that bolt will. This is where you wish you had needle nose fingertips. Well, with me, my wife said the other day I have sausage fingers, so it's a little tougher to get them in here. All right, bolt came out. All right, so we got the bolt, so we're good to go there. So now we should be able to pull that sensor out. Let's blow that out with air real quick, make sure we don't drop anything inside the hub. All done. All right, now, see if we can wiggle that sensor out. Sometimes I can be a little stubborn, so we have to give it a little persuasion. All right, so now we have a little easier access. All right, that's better. Now let's see if we can do this. Starting to get a little thing in my throat.
See, it makes it a challenge because it's right under this nut, which is completely in the way. Let's get a hook. Okay. Just kind of wedge it up under there without stabbing myself. There we go. Starting to get some movement. Or maybe it's just flexing. Golly. Shnikes. That is impressive. Grab my channel locks that I had repurposed for something else. My snow blower has an issue where the auger lever broke, and so I'm waiting on the part to arrive. So this has been repurposed to hold my cable in place until those parts arrive. Like I said, it's been snowing quite a bit lately, so I can't go without it. All right, vice grip's on. Let's see if we can get some leverage. Like that. This is redonkulous, as a friend of mine would say. He likes that term, it's funny. Holy cow. That should just pop right the heck out. Bonk. Let's spray that on there, let that soak for a minute. All right, let that soak for a few minutes. Let's see if we can get this going. Can't seem to be able to get that to twist. Course of action would be get this caliper bracket off and get that out of the way, and then go from this direction up and see if we can mount that sucker up. See, when I anticipate having a tough job to do, I bring my better tools home from work, and I did not do that because I wasn't anticipating having to fight an ABS sensor. There we go. Get him out of the way. Now we can get a straight shot up in there and hopefully be able to get that sucker out. hopefully we can bite into this just enough to get it to start moving up. This thing is gonna disintegrate on us. All right, so what we're gonna have to do, as you can see, I got it chiseled down flat, and what we're gonna wind up doing is drilling down the center just as straight as we can. And we're not gonna go the full size of that, we're just gonna start stepping it up. So we'll start small and then we'll work our way up. Keep it centered as possible. I know I'm gonna block your guys' view, but I don't have a 18-foot long drill bit. And then hopefully that is actually the problem. With this whole thing. And then that hole didn't go exactly center either, so. Another thing to be wary of. One thing to remember, guys, things like this happen, especially on cars that are pushing a couple 100,000 miles. And that's right on the edge. I don't want to go any bigger of a bit because that's right down there on the edge of that bore. That bore bevels a little bit and it's right on that edge. I don't want to go any farther. So let's see if we can work its way out. Anyway, this is just stuff that happens. These cars are old, 180,000 miles on it, and you're gonna have issues. All right, so what I wound up having to do is I wound up having to drill that thing out. So you can look down in the bore there, and you can see, focus in on it, you can see how corroded it is down in there, corrosion. And so that's what's going on. So that's why I had to actually drill that thing out with that yet. So fun times. All right, so to clean out the bore, you need a bore brush. So here we go. All right, so what I wound up doing was taking my bore brush and the rod, and I took the handle off the rod, and that way I can put it up in the drill. Get a little bit of speed out of it. And that's gonna probably toast this brush, but it's worth it to get this bore cleaned out. Yeah, I do believe those raised edges are designed to keep that from moving. So with that, we're going to put this bolt in so we don't lose our spot and not be able to rotate it, because that would be a stinker. I don't know. I seem to be the type that likes no hiccups. If it goes smooth, that's fun for me. But you don't learn without challenges. You don't learn without having things go, like in my mind today, bad.
Now, it's nothing that we caused. This is just the fact of having a high mileage vehicle. And kind of a weird design where those grooves are actually kind of gripping that thing and holding it in. It's not needed because the and that's sucking it right in, guys. And so it's not neat, and I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this bolt. It's just pulling it right in. So that's another reason why this thing was so tight. Is right now it's all the way down, and so now it's time to tighten it up. And so, you know, that's part of the reason why it was stuck in there. Is you have a couple things going against you. One is you have the corrosion that was built up, but then also the fact that it's basically a snug press fit with those ridges on that plastic. Okay, I don't want to go too tight and break the bolt. All right, so sensor's in, and now we're going to run it to where it belongs. Put the caliper bracket back on. Side, but that's the other side of it. We can just get rid of that because it has a new one right there. So we'll do that. We'll go ahead and relieve it of its demise of being in here. Of course, that doesn't want to go either, so we're just going to cut that off. We're going to push it through. If it's not one thing, it's another. Sound familiar? Let's grab that and pull it through. Yeah, right. All right, got it. Now I can get in here and just give that a little love tap, like so. It's home. Now we'll simply run that to its course. And when we get it back up in the air, we'll fasten that back in place. Go ahead and do this right here. Bada boom. Bada boom. Probably wonder what happened to my gloves. They keep ripping up on me, so I'm tired of wearing gloves tonight. Oh, snap. I don't even have my torque wrenches here. I do have my other torque wrench here. Yeah, I'm good. Good. All right. I'll just have to break out the big dog. Well, fortunately, it's big bolts on that caliper, so that works. Why don't you guys do me a favor and count out how many times I've dropped things tonight? Or in any of the other videos, I tend to drop things a lot. They call me Sir Drop-a-Lots. Or Sir Drops a Lot, something like that. Something of that notion. Anyway, always get your hanger back. And we're gonna take our caliper bolts and we're gonna wire wheel off the old Loctite and put new Loctite on there and torque them down to spec. All right. Throw our caliper bracket and throw our caliper and bracket back on there. We've cleaned off the bolts. And now we're going to apply some thread locker and then torque them down to 129 foot-pounds is what I call for.
Okay, tools are out. Let's get the tire back on. Impact. Let's run our connector back up. Clipper right there. Oh, golly. Well, those are no fun. Ay, ay, ay. I like to hear a clip. All right, well, that's on there. Portion. Left rear. Do we get a signal? Key may have cycled it off. Yeah, last time we had to, after it sat for a while, we had to cycle the key for it to read anything. But then again, it may not have been the problem in the first place, right? And do we have a signal? No, we don't. Look at that. No signal. All right. Interesting. We were not getting a code for the right rear, yet we're not getting a signal from it either. So, interesting. Maybe. I don't know. That's a weird one. All right. We're going to pause until we figure this out. You know, it could be that you have to clear the code before it'll read anything. That does happen. So let's try doing that. But it's weird that the front ones would read, but maybe it's something in that strategy. It says, well, I'm going to use the front ones. They're still okay, but the back ones we're not going to use because there's a code, and we're just going to not allow it to work. So let's go back to our codes. Code menu, display codes, see if we got anything new. Now we did have the key on when we were testing, so the right one is going to show for sure, as well as the left. So let's go back and clear our codes. Key on, engine off, yep. Okay, display codes, still showing. Clear codes. Sometimes it makes it do it a couple times. Well, that's no good. What in the world? Maybe we have to turn the key off. Okay, we're going to try turning the key off. All right, so we turned off the key, let it sit for a while, pulled the key out, opened and shut the door, let it sit for a couple minutes, and now the key's back on. And let's go ahead and check our codes and see if it changed anything. Display codes. Okay, same codes. However, now they're history codes. They're no longer active like they were before. So let's go ahead and clear and see if they actually clear out. Bingo. Sometimes you have to turn off the key and let it sit for a while. Remember, I mentioned that earlier today. I know Dodges do that, and apparently some of the GMs do it as well. Not all of them do it, but just some. So in this case, that happens. So now, let's see if we can read data off that wheel speed sensor. So data display, anti-lock brake data. Let's go back to our left rear. Left rear. We'll go full screen so you guys can see it. Bingo, now we got a signal. All right. All right, now let's go to the right rear and just make sure we have a signal over there as well. Just because we didn't have one when we did our initial check. There we go. We got a signal going on. But we're gonna lower it down and get the wiper put on and take it for a spin and see what happens. We're gonna torque our left rear wheel. All right, that does it for this one, guys. Sensor's in, so we got the the old one out. Had to drill it out. Got the bore cleaned up. Got the new one in. Got the codes cleared, and then tested the wheels out, and it shows that we have signals on the wheels. So that's good to go there. Just remember what we ran into, which is if you have a code like that on some vehicles, when you clear them out, they won't clear out right away if you're, unless you cycle the key off and then leave it off for a couple minutes and then come back and recheck in. Like what happened here was we cleared the code, it didn't want to go, it kept coming back as active, it kept coming back as an active code. So we're like, what's going on? Didn't we fix this problem? And then we spun the wheels, remember, and then nothing, we didn't have any signal. Well, we didn't have any signal because the code was still in active status, meaning that it's just not gonna supply anything because it's already got a problem. So one, it's not gonna let you show a signal on the wheel, and then two, it's not gonna let you clear that code out right away. So, and the reason why it wouldn't clear the code is because you have to cycle the key off, let it sit for a couple minutes, and then go back and recheck your codes. And at that point, it gave us it threw those codes into memory codes, which means they were no longer active. So that was good news. And then we went through and cleared them out again, and boom, they were gone. And now we have signals on both wheels on the back. And the reason why I say both signals on both rear wheels, because we only had the one fault on the one sensor, it's because we did disconnect the right side to do a test against the other one as far as resistance values. So that's the reason why. And when you put everything back together and all of a sudden you don't have a signal, it's like, what's going on? And what was really weird was that even though the rears would not throw a signal and the codes went clear, the front tires would still, the sensors would still pick up a signal. And so that's what was strange. That's what got me concerned, was because, well, I have a signal on the front, but I don't have it on the backs. The sensor was goofy in the first place, and then we disconnected this one over here. All right, what did we do wrong over here? And was this sensor actually faulty? So it made me think, maybe not. Maybe the sensor was not faulty and it was replaced for nothing. But that wound up not being the case. For some reason, in the strategy with this vehicle, if you have a code on it, it's not going to let that signal come up at all. And what we didn't do when we initially did our first testing was we didn't spin the right rear, simply because I didn't want to walk around the vehicle with the camera and do that. I just had my daughter spin the front wheel because it was right there, and we had a signal. And so, all right, let's work on the left one, left rear, and go from there. So not doing that beforehand, had we done that, we would have realized we didn't have a code on or a signal on that side either, and that would have thrown us into a little baffle phase right there for a few seconds. So a couple seconds of horror. But it's normal for us techs to have some horror at some point, and then you come to the realization, hey, let's just check our basics. Let's clear the codes, shut the key off, let it sit, come back, and boom, test everything out, and everything's good. So now we're going to actually confirm that by doing a road test and make sure nothing drops out, make sure it stays off, and then deliver the car back to her. Anyway, take care. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, ring the bell, and that'll let you know when new content has arrived. And we are currently working on projects almost daily. And all right, take care.